Greetings, friends. We know the world can get a little crazy and overwhelming sometimes. Even though we can't necessarily change anything, it helps to talk things out. Whether it's politics or the paranormal, cryptids or conspiracies, history or how things are going now. Good conversation is always heartwarming and helps put the world into perspective. It may seem cold out there, but the fire's lit on the old potbelly stove, and we're in the mood to talk. So join us as we gather around the wood stove and have ourselves a fireside chat. All right, everyone, welcome back to the show today. I'm joined by my good friends. To the right, got the man, the myth, the legend, Madero.
You
How
keep
are
saying
you
a
today,
myth. I
sir?
don't think this is a good myth.
And then, ironically, it keeps happening this way to my left, my good buddy Lefty.
Yeah, always on your left.
How
I'm
you
like
doing
having
today?
your six, but I'm always on your left.
You doing all right
I
today?
am doing well. How about you?
Oh, not too bad. Good to see the rain held up a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Do
But it's a
not
nice
tempt
day.
it.
It's a nice day, and we're hanging out with our buddies. So,
That's right. It's always a good day, right? I mean, the only
always.
thing would have made it better if we had a range day, but hey, it happened.
Well, hopefully next time.
That's right. Maybe we could do that, on one of those episodes where we're actually talking about, like, World War II or something like that, just to get in the feel,
That would be a good idea.
just a thought.
Break out.
But anyways, without further ado, I want to read just a reminder. Don't forget to like and follow us on YouTube, Rumble, and then be looking out for episodes on the Apple Podcast and Spotify as well. So I think that'll be a good
Yeah,
time with the,
yeah.
I don't know,
Moving up in the world.
yeah, moving up in the world. There you go. Getting tech savvy over here.
Exactly.
Well, anyway, without further ado, Mr. Lefty.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Madero is actually going to kick off the episode today. As Mr. Poncho stated, thank you for joining us back around the wood stove. Before we get going on the topic for the day, which I will let Madero introduce, I have a couple of quick notes. So, housekeeping. Sorry,
I
trying to
have
get
the
it.
do not disturb sign.
Too bad.
Hey,
I'm not
this isn't
complaining.
this isn't Tommy Boy. Just go on to
I
it,
know,
okay?
but I had to, and I knew you guys would get the reference. So, a couple of quick things, and this is just where I sort of dropped the ball a little bit. First off, when we were discussing the Titanic, I misspoke. When we were discussing what it would cost to ride the ship in 1912 and discussing prices, and I think the way I worded it was I didn't bother to look it up, and that is not what I meant at all. I meant to say like five different things. My brain was telling me multiple sentences, and they all sort of ran together, and that's what it came out as. I had lost the initial note I had on it, and then I forgot to look it back up until we were recording, and that's on me. So just for getting the information out there, the it varied quite distinctly between, of course, the third and first class, but also like within the classes there were different levels. Third class was pretty much what it was, but like the first class, you could have a slightly bigger or nicer room, and other rooms, like if you were traveling with children, they would have cots brought in, and you would charge a little extra for that. However, I would like to point out that their folding emergency use cots were hand carved oak. Just throwing that out there. So anyway,
Man, our emergencies are a lot cheaper now.
I know, right?
Cheaper craftsmanship. They probably cost more, but they're cheaper craftsmanship.
Yes, not nearly as well made, I guarantee. So anyway, just for the sake of knowledge, third class tickets aboard the Titanic would have cost around £7, which was approximately $35 at the time. And you have to remember, people were making like 25 cents a day at most of their jobs, so $35 pretty significant. And the first class suite could cost up to about £870, which would have been around $4,350 at the time. Now, adjusting for inflation, that takes it up to about £850 for third class. So again, you're talking in today's money around a little over $4,000 for the third class tickets. And a first class ticket today would cost you over 105,000 British pounds. So, and I've lost where it equates that to American dollars, but I think you kind of get the idea. So again, when I made the statement that people might have sold their children, which was literally a real thing in the early 1900s that people had to do, this is what I'm talking about, because again, you're talking thousands of dollars for them at the time, or in the equivalency of the time, for people who made, not enough money to buy bread. Okay, moving on. The other note I wanted to say, when we were discussing Easter and I was talking about the origins of the Easter bunny and things of that nature, I failed to mention the other side of the equation. And for the sake of knowledge, because we were trying to teach people things and spread the word and all that, there was a Proto-Germanic goddess that was worshipped by multiple cultures, and depending on which culture, her name is a little different. It was Eastra, Ostir, or Ostara, or multiple versions of that. And again, Proto-Germanic, this covers the Celts and the Gauls and the Picts and various, a lot of different cultures. So they all kind of, it's like a game of telephone. They kind of all put their own spin on it. But one of the things that this goddess was known for was that she came across a wounded bird, and she wasn't able to heal it for whatever reason, so she transformed it into a hare, or a bunny. However, since it was avian in origin, it still retained the ability to lay eggs. And then, as a tribute to the gift that was given to this injured bird, the eggs were decorated and presented as an offering. So this is where we get the tie-in between the Easter Bunny and eggs, and also why people thought rabbits laid eggs in the garden. And again, I don't have a specific year on this because it goes so far back in time. But so the Easter Bunny's been a thing for much, much longer than we could have even supposed. Okay, so I'm done, and now I will throw it over to the magnificent and yes, mythical Madero.
I really need to find this mythical book and change its text somehow. Anyway, so I want to tell a story here, and I want to see if you guys can relate to this, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're traveling down the road. You see somebody on the side of the road, looks like they're having trouble. But you also notice that that same person has people hiding in the back of their vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you don't know, are they just passengers of this person? Are they setting a trap for you? Instinct and self-preservation would tell you it's safer to not engage,
Correct.
because you would be going into a one versus an unknown situation.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in the modern world, the sensible thing is you have to treat everyone as if they are a threat until proven otherwise.
Right.
But say you don't react that way. Say your empathy overpowers your rationale and you decide to stop. Everything seems on the up and up until those three guys that were in the back of the truck abduct you and they've got you in their clutches.
Mm-hmm.
Now their vehicle works just fine and they've got your vehicle too, and you disappear into the world, never to be seen again.
Right.
That is an oversimplification of a phenomenon called suicidal empathy.
Mm-hmm.
Your empathy overpowers all of your rational thought process and all of your self-preservation instinct because you feel bad for someone.
Right.
A clearer definition of it is it's a state of extreme misdirected empathy where I can't even read my own writing. Where an individual or society prioritizes compassion and well-being of others to such an extent that it results in the self-destruction or, importantly for later discussions in this, self-erasure.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm going to say that this discussion will take part in a couple of different layers. And I want to start on the macro layer. And then we'll refine it down to where it's more of an individual basis.
Right.
So I would like to, before I go any farther, would either Ponchi, Lefty, do you have anything you'd like to insert here before I continue on my rambling path? Or
I'll just say real quick, I guess the technical term or the macro version, as you mentioned, would be civilizational suicidal empathy as opposed to personal suicidal empathy.
If I may, just because I got it here, I printed it out. Whatever a definition of origin. Would you like me to read it and
Go
then we
right
can head
ahead.
on?
Mm-hmm.
It says suicidal empathy is a term coined by Canadian marketing professor Gad Saad to describe a form of empathy that becomes destructive when it overrides logic, self-interest, or long-term consequences. It refers to situations where individuals or societies prioritize compassion and understanding towards others, even harmful or unreciprocated parties, over their own survival, security, or rational decision making. Ad urges that this is phenomenon can lead to a maladapted altruism and societal decline.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Absolutely. And I assume you'll touch on this, or we'll get to it. But again, one of the things people talk about is how you end up prioritizing your empathy over very practical outcomes, such as open borders, lenient crime policies, and prioritizing rights for other people over your own.
It's funny you say it that way because the way you worded that right there dictates the three structures that I wanted to talk about.
Well, that's
But
good.
anyways, before we go on, I have one more part of this I want to read. It can maybe help to set the stage whenever you go more into it. So this one's from psychological and personal contact. It says, and it said, on an individual level, suicidal empathy can appear as toxic or self-sabotaging behavior, where a person empathizes with those who harm them or consistently sacrifices their own needs to accommodate others. Signs include excusing harmful behavior, feeling guilty, or asserting boundaries, or prioritizing the feelings of others over personal safety and well-being. In coaching or personal development contexts, it is described as empathy without accountability, where compassion is extended without enforcing necessary limits, leading to burnout or enabling destructive patterns.
All right. So now that we've got the terms and dictionary definitions and the understanding out of the way, I think the best way to take this conversation is in practical examples, things that
Mhm.
we can verify are going on and we have the data to support
Yes, please.
the practicality of like where suicidal empathy actually exists. The easiest example in the modern world of a civilizational version of this is Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Europe has they have such an immigration crisis that our bad broken immigration system was still better than, which I don't think people realize how much of a nightmare that is
Mhm.
for those that are the native populace to have a hostile civilization brought in.
Mm-hmm.
But not only were they were brought in with protections. Now, some people that are eagle-eyed observers of how governments work may look at this and go, whoa, whoa, whoa. This isn't suicidal empathy. This is a government willingly bringing people in to deconstruct the basis of what's going on so they can retain power longer. If there's chaos, you tend to keep the same leadership because, well, we need something to say. And you'd be right. Those leaders are not the ones with the suicidal empathy. Those in the populace that go out and petition for these poor migrants, we have to do everything for them. We have to give them a home. We have to give them resources. We cannot criticize them. Those are the ones that have suicidal empathy.
Mm-hmm.
Their suicidal empathy has been brought on by government mind bending and propaganda, but that does not make it any less suicidal to hold these beliefs.
Correct.
You cannot tell me that the country of England is the same England that we defended in World War II.
No, absolutely not.
And it's not just England, but England's a great example because there's a lot of video that comes out of England. There's a lot of things that have tipped out. They've broken containment that the government can't contain.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Europe is farther gone. But we've all seen the video of the schoolgirl who's wielding a knife to defend her and her friend from a migrant.
Mm-hmm.
And that migrant then posts the video and says, look at how hateful this little girl is, and they investigate her.
Right.
They didn't look into him at first. There's countless videos of these people that have been brought from third world countries just walking down the street, and they feel the call of nature, and they just do it on the sidewalk.
Mm-hmm.
And they just keep going. They're not coming to these countries to make them better or to get a better life. They're coming to leech. They're coming to take everything.
Mm-hmm.
And they prey upon the empathy of those that want to help the betterment of mankind.
Right.
We're in an environment now where that cannot be tolerated, because you have people that now know these people are empathetic towards me. I can get away with anything.
Mm-hmm.
And those that still push, we need to be empathetic for everyone. They are suicidal whether they realize it or not.
Right.
It may not be a I want to die, but it's a I must sacrifice for someone else, when that other person reciprocates none of the feeling towards you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's altruism on a scale that's just completely untenable. You're willing to die basically to keep from offending somebody, and I don't understand what could drive you to that point.
It is a generational propaganda campaign
Mm-hmm.
that has been going on. I don't know the true origin time of it. I've argued with myself on where this truly began. And the problem with pointing to a time is it is cyclical. It's happened multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
The modern version of this is very unique, because before, people would conquer. You think of the Romans. They would conquer countries and leave populaces alive to be Romans. Well,
Mm-hmm.
now you're paying taxes, you're doing things like that. And then those people would finally have enough, and they would uprise. And that would be what takes your kingdom down. And we'll discuss that in a later episode about what actually precipitates the fall of an empire.
On a future episode.
But with this iteration in history, it is primarily driven by guilting those that should have the logical knowledge to know what is going on is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But it's being used to convince them that no. All these people that are telling you it's bad, all these people that are saying it's a bad thing, they're lying to you. Don't believe them. They're purposely misleading you. Let us bring these people in.
Right.
Another country that's a good example of how this goes the other way is the country of Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Their government announced, I want to say it was last year sometime, that they were going to have this sister cities program with cities in Africa, and that the Africans from those cities could get special licenses and special passports to come work and live in Japan, because Japan has a declining birth rate. When they pitched this as this grand idea, we're going to better both societies, the Japanese populace said, absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
We want no part of this.
Mm-hmm.
And they, to a degree, were successful. That program was receded. Oh, well, that's never what we meant. But even Japan is now facing a new problem of basically their invaders are now streamers.
Mm-hmm.
They're nuisance streamers. They're people that go there and they don't want to assimilate.
Right.
But Japan's the only one I can think of that's actually fighting off fairly well, because they don't have this self-sacrificing empathy of I have to think of the others over myself.
Right.
I have to think of them over my culture. They stand fast on what is important to them,
Mm-hmm.
what makes them who they are.
Right.
And they've been mocked for years about being xenophobic, about being all these things. But you cannot deny that they're still quintessentially Japan.
Right.
You cannot say that about France. You cannot say that about England.
Or Ireland at this
or
point.
Ireland. They have all fallen.
Mhm.
Canada has fallen. And the people that they've fallen to are not intellectually superior to them. They're not militarily superior to them.
No.
The only thing they have is they rely on the good graces of the populace.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Does anybody have anything before we go to the next level?
No. I have a couple little things. I might circle back to this a little bit when we get into America, but for now, I'll allow you to continue. I'm on board with everything you're saying, and well, I will say one thing. You keep mentioning assimilation, which I don't know if people understand how important that is. This is slightly off topic, but not really. There's a big thing culturally for the last few years. They keep talking about cultural appropriation. And this is a buzzword that I hate more than I can describe, because civilization is literally built on the thing they are now calling cultural appropriation. Because from the very beginning of history, when one group moves in and either takes over or joins up with another group, they take the best of everything there is and they mesh them together and they build up from there. And you've got to think about it like when the wheel was invented, right? People had been spending centuries dragging things around on pallets of wood and having to pick it up and carry it because they can't get over tree roots and rocks and things of that nature. And somebody somewhere said, hey, if I chisel this stone into a circle and I put a thing through it, I can roll across all the stuff. Someone from a neighboring village, the other side of the mountain, a boat, whatever the case is, showed up and they're like, hey, we can do that too. And that's going to make our lives 100 times better. And it spread across the world. And now everybody has multiple wheels on multiple things. This is what people are now calling cultural appropriation. And it is an essential part of civilization. But it goes hand in hand with assimilation, which, as you said, these people have no interest in doing. They want to come and move into a place where there are better resources and healthcare and opportunities and all this thing, and then make it the same place that they tried to escape from.
And I want to bring this around to that too. You're talking about how that's how things have progressed, things have gotten better. I can't be the only one that feels like within our lifetimes so far, the world overall has regressed. We've lost more technology than we've gained.
Oh no, you're absolutely not alone.
And everyone's like, "Oh, well, we got this new chip, we got this new cars, we got these new technologies," but we've lost what civilization has been built on, all to go accommodate someone else.
Right.
Oh, well, we don't want to offend them, so we can't say America's main language is English. Well, now it's like, well, we don't have a main language. Well, now you've got this city talks this way, this city over here talks this way. And within that big city, there's 4 different regions that all have 4 different dialects. So there's no way they're functioning together.
Right.
All because we don't want to make them feel ostracized. We don't want to make them feel othered. The point of feeling othered is to go, I don't belong here. I belong with this group. And if you want to change groups, it needs to be an internal decision and you have to work towards it.
Right.
The other group doesn't have to come meet you halfway. You need to adapt to them.
Exactly.
Only when you feel sorry for that person coming in that doesn't meet your standards do you start to regress as a civilization. Pancho, you were going to say something.
Yeah, maybe I'm misthinking all this, but to me, whenever I think about this in the term of suicidal empathy and how it can be used, and it's almost spells, one word comes to mind to me: propaganda. Well, it could be a form of propaganda to a degree.
Well,
let's say back in ancient civilizations, right? Like you talked about Rome earlier, right? Let's say Rome sent 4 legislators. I'm just going to call them legislators, right? Over to wherever, right? And said, here's what we have in mind. Whatever, if they can get their leaders over in whatever country it is, right, to start thinking, maybe that's a good thing, right? But they're only hearing part, right, of what Rome wants to do. So these leaders are like, yeah, that's fine. So they welcome Rome in, right? Well, guess what? Well, Rome theoretically wants the full control over the government or whatever. But they don't know that up front. They're just a little bitty part of what they want them to know.
Well, see,
And it could be something as simple as them saying, hey, you're a smaller country. We got a huge army. If anything, we'll give you protection. We got the protection of the.
a good way I think to look at that is let's look at the Roman era, right? The Catholic Church expansion after Christ's crucifixion is a great example of making accommodations to further your ranks. Each missionary that went to different tribes would say, some of them were just, no, there is one God. There is only God. There's only Jesus. That's the only way to Christ. But then other ones would go, there's only one God, but he's actually over your demigods. The ones you worship, they're under him, but they still exist, but they're under him.
Right.
And then further ones would say, oh no, your gods are still gods, but there's one supreme God. Now, all of these messages were coming from missionaries from one entity, and that was the church.
Right.
And it took a Roman emperor to go, okay, we have too many versions of Christianity. We're all going to come together at Nicaea and narrow down what the Bible is. If that had been left to propagate, if there hadn't been some external force going, look, no more accommodations. Think about where the church may be in the same situation.
Maybe.
Later episode.
Right.
But it would have got there a whole lot faster and been more of a laughing stock than it has been through time. It's had its men. It's had its times where it's been on the bad end of things.
Sure.
But it's that same idea of each person takes in their own understanding. And back then, with the church analogy, it wasn't, well, we have to accommodate them because we feel bad for them. It's, we need to accommodate them because we need their numbers.
Right.
I want to be the one responsible for bringing the most people into the church. In the modern examples, or in the suicidal civilization side of this, it's that same mentality of like, we need to bring everybody into the fold so we can all be one. We're all one. We all have the same goal. I'm going to disillusion you right now. We do not all have the same goal.
No.
We do not have the same background. Some civilizations are incompatible with other civilizations. This is why there's different countries. This is why there's different regions. These differences are there for a reason. And that doesn't mean we can't help other people. But you can help someone where they are and not bring them to where you are.
Right. You can help somebody on. Not good. It's kind of weird, but you can help somebody on the other side of the fence without necessarily having them living in your backyard.
Exactly.
Well, and I'm going to take this moment to go into the next branch. And if the first one was civilizational, the only thing I can guess is this one might be national suicidal empathy.
Let's cut right there for a break,
Okay.
and then we'll come back.
Welcome back in, folks. And we'll just pick up the conversation right back where we were with the national level of suicidal empathy. And as a preface to this particular section, this is not so much of a whole nation actually feels sorry. So the whole nation's not empathetic. It's a government being sympathetic on the nation's behalf.
Telling the nation to be empathetic.
Yeah, in a lot of instances, against the will of the actual people.
What? Governments do that?
Again, we can once again look at Europe and look at all the mass migration and things, but that's an entire continent that's doing that. Let's bring it on back to the good old USA.
Yes.
And our recent history, okay? And I'm just going to pile on and beat this dead horse some more. All you have to do is look at Minnesota.
Yes.
All the fraud, all the blatant rip-offs,
Like
all
the Leering Center?
the Leering Center, you have little Mogadishu running rampant up there.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that exposed it are the ones that the government threatened and said they're the bad actors. They're the bad influence. The same people that Nick has gone to California
Mm-hmm.
and exposed very similar situations of that government saying, oh, we need to give this money to these people because they need a hand up. They need a hand up. Well, when he came in and exposed it, did they want to stop that? Did they want to stop the fraud? No. They wanted to stop him.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to pass laws to make it where you can't do exposés like that.
Right.
That is a government dictating to the people, you must have empathy for these people. You must have kindness towards it. We're all, was it Tim Walz? We're all Minnesotans.
Yeah.
Suitans.
Good old tampon Tim.
Yes. Anyway, but
You can say jackass. I don't care.
I'm trying to not curse. When it comes to politics,
I don't really
it's
consider that a curse word, but
He's
I
a
get it.
Jackass is a donkey.
yeah, it's donkey. Here we go.
Ironically, that's the cover for the Democratic Party, the donkey. So
Yes.
it goes hand in
I
hand.
don't think that's a coincidence, but
Somebody had a good sense of humor. That's what
well,
that
for
is.
sure. And nobody else noticed. Anyway,
See,
carry on.
the Republicans, they're elephants because they're big, slow, unable to change. That's just,
It's just like so poetic.
yeah, it's priceless.
Just like they gave you an early warning without giving you one.
Yeah.
But let's look at the government level of this, right? How many times in our lives have we been told, "Oh, this money went here. It wasn't fraudulent. It was with the best of intentions." When that comes to storm relief in other countries, when that comes to aid for other countries, when that comes to bringing those people here because, oh, they don't have anywhere to go.
Mm-hmm.
And the only instance I can think of where people really did have to flee their government and were brought into the U.S., aka the whites out of South Africa,
Mm-hmm.
the same people telling us we have to have compassion for the Somalis were saying, how dare you bring them in here?
Yes.
They do not deserve
Mm-hmm.
our shelter. They do not deserve sanctuary. But the Somalis who come here intentionally to rob from us do.
Right. And again, the Somalis are not that are coming here. They're not fleeing, mass genocide or anything of that nature. Their country's not the best place to live, but they're not. It wasn't like, oh, these people are going to be killed en masse if we don't do something. It's a different situation. And two quick things, since I've already interrupted you, and I apologize. You mentioned the government mandating that people have empathy. These are the same people who launched No Kings protests. Just wanted to point that out.
Except where there's a king and then it's no tyrants because we don't want to upset the monarchy now.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, there's a No Kings protest, and 2 days later, the actual King of England shows up, and they're like, "Oh, love him."
They would
love
bow to him if it wouldn't look so
Yeah,
bad.
they'd kiss his feet if it wouldn't look so bad.
It'd
But,
be worse than his feet.
well, we won't go there. Anyway.
Don't worry, I just did.
Yeah, it's
I
fine.
took us there.
You did, and I'm not complaining. But I forgot the second thing I was going to say. Maybe it'll pop back into my head.
again.
You derailed me again. This train is never on track.
No.
But carry on, sir.
So, I think we all get the general principle of how the government's doing this, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I want to look more on the enabling. What's enabling the government to get away with this stuff?
Right.
And the easy answer is Karens. Like the internet terminology is the Karen that's there. I know better than you. I'm going to do things that you don't like, but it's for the betterment of everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's way too simplistic of a view.
Right.
Because there's multiple facets that allow these things to happen. There are those that truly believe we need to help everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And of the best intentions, they believe these people have never been given a fair shot.
Right.
Because they've always been told these people have never been given a fair shot. They've never had these advantages. They've never had this option. It's 2026 in those countries, too.
Mm-hmm.
We're a more interconnected race, the species, I should say, not race. We're a more interconnected species than we've ever been throughout the history of the entire planet.
Yes, by a fairer sight.
So if you're not doing something or trying to better your society, it's by choice.
Mm-hmm.
But it's easier for them to prey on your empathy, on your compassion, than it is for them to try and actually fix what they've already broken or what they've just not, but they've not worked on.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of want to go into, since the civilization and the national have the same kind of salve to kind of solve the problem. I kind of want to talk about that a little bit of what I personally see as antidotes to this virus. I don't know medical terminology, so I probably got that wrong.
Yeah,
but
works.
We as a populace need to be much more gatekeeping of our society.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot allow the enemy in the gate because they look weak when they come in. Because too many countries have told their people, look weak, they'll take sympathy on you, and then you can show your true color and do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
There is no negative for you. Well, that serves that country in two ways. That country that's sending these people here, it gets another mouth off of their plate to feed.
Right.
It gets one more insurgent out of their ranks.
Mm-hmm.
So when they go to take power, it's not their power.
Right.
It also gives them agents on the inside.
Sleeper
Because
cells.
if you send somebody over here, but their family is still in the country they came from, now that country's got leverage.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got the birth, anchor babies.
Anchor babies, yes.
You have entire tourism industries built on give birth in the U.S. and that'll get you that child will be a citizen and that'll be your anchor.
Right. And you get citizenship by proxy.
What advantage does that give the U.S.? What does that benefit us at all?
I can't begin to imagine.
I view that as a compassion we must cut off.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
We need to solve what the problems are. Step one, no one else.
Mm-hmm.
If you come here, you're not a citizen for, say, 7 years. And I'm just kind of pulling that number up.
Sure.
That can
Out of
change.
thin air. Okay.
But you have a trial period.
Right.
If you don't contribute X amount in that time,
Mm-hmm.
you're going back. And while you're here, this will sound harsh, but you don't have all the same rights as a full citizen does.
Correct.
You're not
Correct.
voting.
Mm-hmm.
You're not impacting policy. You cannot run for office. Even after you've served your however many years to become a citizen, no foreigners as politicians of any stripe.
I absolutely
Local,
agree.
state, doesn't matter.
And if I may, over on that, the another thing I would add is while you're even if you do get full citizen right, but it ought to be as something too as simple as, hey, you committed a major crime, right? You're done. Your rights are gone,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going back. Or if they did something major where they need to serve or whatever, but that's it. You done lost your citizenship rights.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and you bring up another element of the national suicidal empathy that needs to be discussed. People that are here, that were born here, citizens here, and have 40, 50 convictions for crimes.
Mm-hmm.
But the judge takes sympathy. Oh, well, they'll get it right this time. No.
Yeah. No, absolutely not.
I grew up with the 3 strikes policy being what I thought the prison system operated on.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
We need to get back to that at worst case be 3 strikes.
Absolutely.
For some offenses, it's 1 and you're locked up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are going to be problems with that because, again, we have activist judges. We have judges that are ruling from the bench not on law but on feelings.
Right.
Their empathy is now suicidal to you because they're wanting to kill you off because you dare do something to somebody they liked.
Right.
In those instances, if you're defending yourself, somebody comes in and breaks into your house and you shoot them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? They instigated it. they broke into your house, whether they're armed or not has no bearing. If they are the aggressor in any way, they have forfeit their life.
Mm-hmm.
And if they know that going in, that's what everyone needs to know.
Mm-hmm.
Is here is the punishment. You're either A, going to be arrested and serve your time if you get caught and remain alive. But if you go in, the person that owns that property, the person that you're inconveniencing, the person you're harming, has the right to retaliate with lethal force.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this doesn't carry to like you get in a fist fight with somebody and then you pull a gun on because you lost the fight. No. But if you're at home and somebody breaks in, you shouldn't have to question, well, do they have a gun or not? They shouldn't be able to shoot you first.
Right.
But we're in an environment now where in that same scenario, somebody breaks into your house, you don't know what they have, but you shoot them.
Mm-hmm.
In several states, you go to prison.
Right. It's kind of like that guy who took down an attacker on the subway, and he ended up in jail, and he ended up having to pay a fine, and he was on trial, and he was treated as the criminal. Meanwhile, the guy he kept from killing someone was just like, oh no, he's fine. Just we feel bad that he got beat up or choked out. Choked to death, whatever.
On the subway again, the guy who killed Irina Zarutska.
Exactly.
They're like, oh well, there's all these explanations. He murdered her for no reason.
She was white and he was black.
Right.
That's the only reason.
But we have to feel bad for him. But the man that steps in and stops somebody who's acting aggressively, somebody who's inconveniencing the rest of society. Oh well, he was just an impersonator. Yeah. He was just an impersonator. Oh, he was such a good boy.
Mm-hmm.
Bull.
And the thing with Arena, I just was going to mention really quick. I kind of wondered how that was going to work out, because that came down to a coin toss for the people who pushed this narrative, because she was from the Ukraine. And you have to support Ukraine. You have to be there for the Ukraine people.
Oh, they're not the cause du jour.
And you have to, right. But because he was a foreign person of dark-colored skin, they're like, ooh, oh, well, how do we, well, I guess he wins because of the color of his skin.
Doesn't matter. We got laws for a reason in the land, the United States. Doesn't matter if you're visiting or whatever it is. If somebody knows you in that country, that law goes for that person who done it as well as it does for a natural born citizen. That's how it should be.
Yes.
But they made it up the case like you're saying. You might be able to stretch it because technically, this, that, and the other wasn't. That's baloney.
It absolutely is.
You broke the law inside the United States of America. A judge shouldn't have had to sit there and think about all these other factors. A judge should have been like, yo, you're inside the U.S. territory. We don't do that. Right. I don't care who the woman is or if it would have been the other way around.
Right.
You still broke a law. You murdered somebody. You're going to pay the consequences.
Well, but the bad part about it is we're even seeing it with it. You don't even have to be from outside the U.S. and be breaking the law for the judges to go, oh, well, you meet this demographic.
Right.
We have to have hardships. We have to have empathy for you because you've never had a fair shake, or they're living in 2026 too. And
exactly.
The racial divide, and I know this is going to be a topic.
Before we get too further, that's a dereliction of duty on the judge. And that
dereliction means that they're not doing their job. This is worse than dereliction. This is treason.
Right.
All right.
They are purposely going against their job.
You're right. My bad. Wrong choice of word. But either way, treason. I mean, what?
Well, and I was going to bring up.
What happened to the? I thought that even the judicial system, right, had overseers, right, to keep judges in line, right? They're supposed to, right?
It does, but the problem is the judicial system moves slower than an iceberg. Unless they want to run out there and get a story real quick, but then to correct that later takes decades. It takes forever. And that's for everything. And you never hear about the correction, you only hear about the headline.
Right.
But
what I was going to bring up a minute ago is we're talking about these judges, and one of the things that they seem to love to draw their line on is racial lines. Do they not realize that the most racist thing you can do to somebody is say, "Oh, because your skin is X color, then you've had this upbringing,
Right.
and you can't possibly get out of that, even though you have free will. You have the same free will as every other human on the planet,
Mm-hmm.
and you willingly did something that anyone with a functioning brain knows is wrong." But this judge is going to say, "Oh, I feel sorry for you because of the color of your skin." It's gone so far that the empathy that they're trying to show is just proving that they're racist.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't call them out on it, because then it's like, "Oh, well, you're saying that they didn't have a harder time growing up. You're saying they didn't have." I'm saying you're stripping them of all their agency.
Right.
And what do you expect any populace of people to do if you strip them of agency? If you make it where no matter what they do, well, I can't be any better than my color or my base. I can't improve on that, so I might as well just do whatever feels right.
Mm-hmm.
You lose society. You lose you lose functioning between people.
Right.
And that can't be allowed to process.
Mm-hmm.
You have to stop it. And I think that is a good time for me to bring up the third tier of this. And personally, this is the one that irritates me the absolute most.
Mm.
Because both for the civilizational and the national, governments are stepping in and forcing people to do it.
Right.
Whether that's speech laws, gun laws, immigration laws, those are all external. This third level is individual suicidal empathy.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where people have complete control of the situation, and they still choose to do things that endanger them and put them in a worse situation because, "Oh, I feel sorry for them." And the easiest example of this, and we've all met somebody like this, we all know someone like this. They start dating somebody that has been a notorious cheater or a notorious abuser, somebody that has a long track record of this is their behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And the phrase, "Oh, I can fix them.
Right.
My love will pull the best out of them." That is suicidal.
Exactly.
The cases in which a person can change another person's behavior are by far the minority.
Mm-hmm.
But people are willingly taking this danger every day because, well, this is a sign I'm a good person. I gave them another chance. I'm sorry, at a certain point, you've burned through all your chances anyone should ever give you, whether you did it to them or not.
Right.
If a woman comes up to me and I'm talking to her and we're talking about dating, and she goes, "Well, I've had my last 8 boyfriends. I got tired of them, so I just went to somebody else." Why in the world would I ever give her a shot?
Right.
when
There's no future there.
when am I going to do something that happened to me? You're my pie.
Yeah. If you sneeze in the wrong direction, apparently it can be. Yeah. But no, to your point, I personally, the very few people I know that have cheated on their significant other, their spouse, or been cheated on, every single time the cheater gets in a new relationship and cheats again. I mean, I personally have never seen that not happen.
Well, and I'll say this: cheating is like, that's the high end of that, right? Is the abusive
absolutely.
and the cheating. But it could be something of, well, they never leave their house, but I can draw them out of their house.
Right.
That's an uphill battle. And if you're an outgoing person and you're always going to be, "Well, I'm going to go here, I want to go here, I want to go here," now you're trying to pull this person out of their shell, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe they're in that shell for a reason.
Right.
And I'm not saying don't reach out to people and don't try to, but realize that you being empathetic to them does not necessarily mean that that's going to be a good outcome.
Right.
And you're putting both you and, in some situations, the other party at risk.
Mm-hmm. It's very much like these tribes in like the Congo that have never seen people, white people, for instance, and missionaries go there and they're going to improve their lives, and the village ends up dying because they brought in a disease that they can't handle, or they implement some kind of, infrastructure like mechanization that ends up killing people or poisoning the water or something like that. That just and they end up decimating these villages. It's happened multiple times over history, both in ancient civilizations and in the modern day, where they want to go and study these people. Like you said, their desire is to help, and they think they're going to improve the lives of these people, and they end up either ruining their lives or literally killing them.
Or the tribe could kill them.
True. That
Because-
happened. There's one particular island of cannibals that's happened on. Yes.
But it's one of those of what we see as a day-to-day thing is witchcraft to some weird parts of the country, of the
Right.
world still.
Absolutely.
And there again, the reason the individual one annoys me more than the other ones is all it takes is one person to open their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
But that one person refuses.
Right.
Whether that be out of a sense of, well, I'm better than that. I can't, I have to do this because I'm called to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it comes down to, there are people that do it just to go, I know the truth. I can do it. I can do it. You only see it this way because you're only negative about things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I hate to tell you, but if you face the worst outcome of it, if, say, the cheater cheats on you again,
Mm-hmm.
I do not have the suicidal empathy to go, oh, who could have seen that coming?
Right.
You are going to get roasted mercilessly.
And rightfully so.
And if you can't handle it, sorry about you.
Yeah.
And there is a place in the world for empathy. There is a place for helping others.
Absolutely.
But if it's not being reciprocated, if they're not willing to work with you, if they're not willing to change at all,
Mm-hmm.
don't do it.
Right. Well, and empathy is not only something that's very important for people to have, it is literally what separates us from the animals. I hate when people call, humans are just animals too. We're upright apes, blah, blah, blah.
Evil, hairless monkeys.
Evil, hairless monkeys. I don't like that because, again, as a true believer, we are made in God's image, but we won't get into that because we've already done a religious episode. Well, and we may do another one soon. Anyway, empathy is something. Now, there's different levels of empathy. There's an intellectual empathy versus a, hormonal type. There's a better word for it. Anyway, I'm trying not to ramble. But my point is, animals cannot have empathy like human beings do. And that's one of the things that makes us non-animals. And it is one of the things that make us human. So it is a very important virtue to have. And it's something people absolutely need to exercise. But don't overdo it. You're not going to. It's one of those things, this is a really bad analogy, but just off the top of my head. If you see someone who is missing their left arm and you want to help them, cutting off your own left arm will not improve their situation. You might, if you're twisted enough, you might feel better about yourself, but you've not improved their situation any, and you've decreased your own situation. So I guess this is actually something I was going to bring up later, but as part of another comment, but I'll just say, as Aristotle explained millennia ago with the golden mean, all good things in moderation. And that would include empathy.
Yeah.
So carry on.
Well, and to your animal analogy, one of the things that I've been seeing pop up a lot more online is, this rabbit, I actually saw this on X the other day, this rabbit's mate got hit by a car and it was seen crying. Well, there are cases where, like, if you've had two dogs for years,
Mm-hmm.
and one of them's gone now,
Right.
the other dog's not going to act the same.
No.
They're not going to understand what's going on.
Right.
And to somebody who's looking at that could be interpreted as an empathy. Well, they're sorry that their friend's gone.
Mm-hmm.
I think where the distinction comes in is animals are, to a degree, a lot of them are herd
Mm-hmm.
mentality or pack mentality.
Yes, exactly.
And the loss of a member of a pack means a weakening.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it's the same as a human empathy, but it is definitely they sense something's off.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know how to word it,
I-
but it's different than what we're talking
I think
about.
I can help you.
Go for it.
Because what it is, like, if you have a dog you've had for years, you're a very close companion, he's a real friend, and you're having a bad day, your dog is going to come up and put his head in your lap or nuzzle you in a manner that's not necessarily part of the daily routine. That's actually sympathy, which is different than empathy. Because and animals, absolutely, animals of a certain intelligence can experience sympathy, because again they recognize the loss or the tension or that the dynamic is different, and if they can tell you're upset, it upsets them. Again, it ties into the
They're
pack
very
mentality.
perceptive.
Very perceptive. The difference with sympathy and empathy is being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes. Like, just by observation, you understand what they're going through, and you can essentially feel,
Yeah.
that's in air quotes, what they're feeling. That's what defines empathy.
Yeah.
And again, there's a difference between, psychological and emotional empathy. That's a whole other level, which
Right.
again, animals can't get to. So I would define it that way. And
I mean,
that's
I like that definition. I like
Yeah.
that description.
okay.
And just so we can stave off the comments down below and everything, we're not scientists in any regard of all this. We're just three gringos round a fire
Right.
that are we're just one step above Ooga Booga with a stick, just whacking deer with it.
Right.
We're not.
We do read a lot, though.
We do read a lot, but
We
we're
study a lot.
we're not the ones that are out studying psychology. We're not the ones that are out. I can't stand people long enough to do that. But I think the whole reason I wanted us to talk about this,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to make this as clear as I can, before we as a people can make any more strides forward, we have to stop guilting ourselves into going backwards just because we feel bad.
Mm-hmm.
If we want to help people, that's fine. But you have to meet people where they are, not drag them to where you are.
Right.
And some people hear that and go, oh, so you're saying send aid to other countries, do this for other countries. No.
Mm-hmm.
At first, you can help them build the infrastructure, like we did in Venezuela with the oil,
Right.
like we've done in a lot of other countries for mining and things. I'm like, oh, you're going to have to oil. Shut up. But what has happened is we go in, we build this.
Mm-hmm.
We build them, we give them the ability to do stuff on their own.
Right.
And they turn around and stab us in the back.
Mm-hmm.
This is not just a U.S. phenomenon. This has happened across history, across all over the planet. Where, oh, well, we have the means to do this now. We're better. We can do this better than you. We want more. We want more of the power over it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if they're going to have that mentality, then guess what? Let them fall back to the third world.
Right. Absolutely.
Do I feel bad for the people that had no decision making in that are going to suffer for it? Yes, I feel bad for them. But I'm not going to allow them suffering and them bringing it, like their leadership bringing it on themselves, to make me feel bad about telling them to stay out of my country.
Right.
And if you want to come to this country, you have to do it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be willing to assimilate into the society that's here and not just say, this area is ours now.
Right.
We're bringing our country to your door.
Mm-hmm.
How dare you call us a third world hellhole? Well, guess what? You are one.
Right.
Your country is one, and if it wasn't one, why did you leave?
Exactly. Why come here if your country's great to begin with?
And going back to the individual, if these people were all bad to you, maybe you need to take a step back and look at the common cause.
Yeah. Find the lowest common denominator. And if
Right.
it's you, then you know what's wrong.
So everybody, just remember, help your fellow man, help those that you can, but don't endanger yourself or your prosperity and your longevity for the sake of someone else.
Amen.
And with that, I think we're going to end this episode. Thank you for joining. We're not. He's giving me one signal. You're not giving me. Y'all need to communicate.
No,
on that
it was
side.
just a pause time, not a we're done. I got just a couple of quick things. Greetings, podcastians. Lefty here. As of this recording, our little show still does not have any sponsors, but we wanted to take a second to tell you about some friends of ours over at www.geekblendertees.com. As I mentioned in our closing of every episode, they were kind enough to design some merch to go along with our little show, and they have it available on their website. Like us, Geek Blender Tees is a small operation just trying to get going. So if you want to support us and or them, please go check out the website. They have our merchandise and a wide selection of odd, funny, goofy kind of t-shirts that deal with cryptids, puns, science jokes, historical villainy, and all sorts of fun little things. And they're just a good time. So please go on over and check them out. www.geekblendertees.com. Thanks, folks. Yeah, I have multiple friends who were born in other countries and became naturalized citizens. I mean, I'd have to actually stop and count, but it's more than I'm going to need more than one hand. I can tell you that much. And you know what they hate more than anything in the world?
Illegal immigration.
Exactly, because they put in the time, they put in the effort, they paid the money, and they did it the right way. And it was an overriding goal in their life to become American citizens. They didn't want a free ride. They wanted to be part of this country and help us grow and be better.
And to all those that came here legally and they are doing everything they can to contribute and they're doing it the right way, God bless you.
Amen.
You are
and
more than welcome, and welcome to America.
Absolutely. And something I was going to mention earlier, and you were on a roll. I didn't want to interrupt you, but talking about illegal immigration, open borders, you kind of brushed on, and people coming to this country and not wanting to assimilate and all that. It brings up a couple of ideas. One, I don't know how familiar you two are with Ellis Island. In the early 20th century, how it was a mass immigration, but everybody checked in through Ellis Island. Okay, the leftists and the liberals and people who are all for, who are living and breathing the suicidal empathy that we're talking about and want everybody and their brother to come here all day, every day, they like to throw out Ellis Island as this like utopia of immigration. And it wasn't. You had to have proper paperwork. You had to pay a fee. You had to prove that you were going to be a benefit to this country. Otherwise, guess what? They put you on another ship and they sent you right the hell back. And that is just the facts. That's not me. That's not something you look it up and you're going to find out this is true.
Return to sender.
Return to sender. Exactly. And they shut it down after X number of years. Why? Because it got to be too much to handle. There were too many people, and they're like, no, we can't do this anymore. We can't vet everybody. We can't prove that you're going to be an upstanding citizen. So we're closing the border. This isn't happening anymore. They don't like to admit that because they want to be able to throw out this term, Ellis Island, and everybody's like, oh yeah, we need to go back to that. Hell yeah, let's go back to that. Because it was better. Because you kept out the undesirables. You didn't have terrorists coming over because they had to prove they had the means and opportunity to provide a living for themselves and to better society. So I'm all for going back to Ellis Island.
But it should say something that even at that point, we had enough people in the country, we had enough people trying to get in, and we finally had to go shove off, we're full.
Right, exactly.
Our resources, our ability to maintain is so strained at this point, we cannot increase these ranks anymore.
Right. Which is where we find ourselves today.
Yeah, and we're actually at a worse point now because you have people that aren't contributing. They're just leeching.
Exactly. More so than ever before.
Yeah.
And it's very problematic. And then the other thing, sorry.
That word has been ruined, but I understand your concept.
But, and then the other thing that brought up to me is it shows, well, it's kind of three-pronged here because in a lot of ways, the conversation about open borders shows the hypocrisy of a lot of the liberal-minded people. But then it also, because of the suicidal empathy angle, it changes the narrative in a whole other way. And I'll try to explain this, but I've already confused myself.
Well,
so we'll see how it works.
I can just point to a clear example and see if this kind of cuts to what you're going for.
Okay.
those immigrants that were flown to Martha's Vineyard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How quickly did those people, if we need to have open borders, how quickly they become, this is our territory, we'll full go away.
That is a very good example. Yes, it is absolutely a small concept.
They had the suicidal empathy until reality slapped them.
Exactly.
And then their privilege took over, which they accuse us all the time of, oh, well, you have privilege, you can't do this. Didn't stop them, did it?
No, didn't stop them for a second.
For once, we might actually agree with them on something.
Right. And no, that is a prime example. I was going to be a little more in your face, a little grittier.
Oh, no, go for it.
Because the example I was going to use is, and I've had this conversation with people, they're all for open borders. They're like, anybody can come here and we're going to help them out. Okay. But if that same exact person, if 5 men from another country, from this country, doesn't really matter, broke into their house, kicked in their back door, broke into their house, they beat the husband into submission, tie him up, they kill the wife, they kill the oldest son, they rape the younger daughters repeatedly, and then sell them into sex slavery. And they eat all the food in the house. They take everything worth any value, and they sell it, in pawn shops, on the black market, what have you. Those people, there is no way in hell they're going to say, hey, we need to pay for college education for these 5 guys. It is absolutely not going to happen.
But it's okay to them as long as it's happening to someone else.
Exactly.
How many famous people have gone on stages and at events and basically denounced having a border, only to then call the cops on people who show up at their gate,
right,
that has the big wall around their property? Well,
walls don't work.
If you get to have a wall, why can't the country?
Exactly. That's the thing. It's the macro scale. They don't take the time to put it into perspective.
They don't care.
No.
It's not they don't give a perspective. It's what is talking point du jour today.
True enough.
Where can I get free cheers? Where can I get the good atta girl points? And then again, a lot of them, I'm going to ruffle some feathers here, but a lot of the worst offenders are women.
Yes.
Because a lot more men think with logic and not feelings. That's just how we're wired.
It is.
Now, there are men that do the exact same stupid stuff, don't get me wrong.
Well, and there are women that use a lot of logic. But,
right.
But overall,
the coding is there for birth.
Exactly. It is in the DNA. It's not a cultural thing. It's not something we're trying to pawn off. It's there from birth.
And it's not saying one's superior to the other. This is more of an example of why we need to have both to be in balance.
Right.
And we're, if anything, way out of balance right now as a world.
Oh, absolutely. I forgot what I was going to say, but it wasn't important. It was just a kind of a cheering you on sort of thing. But it was a specific.
And I'm sorry about that.
No, it's my own mind, because I'm trying to remember what I wanted to say, and I found a very good article in the New York Post about the subject.
Wait, something from New York was good?
I know. I'm shocked as well.
How many years ago was that article?
Last year, actually.
I'll be dang.
Yeah.
Well, they did go officially stupid with this last election. So.
And again, it's the New York Post, not the New York Times, or so.
But still, it has the word New York. So
I know. I find it
that whole state is suspect.
It is.
I know that most of them aren't crazy like City is, but they're all on. Yeah. We're watching you.
Exactly. We watch with guarded interest.
Yeah, You keep over there while we build our fence.
Yes. Poncho's over there singing. But anyway, I had this article pulled up, key points that I wanted to quote from it. But honest to God, between the 3 of us, we've ended up saying most of what this article says.
Hey, we can ramble just as good as professionals.
That's what I'm saying. And I specifically mentioned Aristotle's golden mean, all things in moderation, which has to apply to empathy as well. And just for the record, the book that Dr. Gad Saad wrote that first used this title, Suicidal Empathy, is actually called Suicidal Empathy, Dying to be Kind. So, which I think sums up pretty much everything. But it's talking about how as a social species, we have a capacity for empathy. And, we look for empathy in certain people, like spouses, significant others, doctors, that kind of thing. But as with everything in moderation, that has to apply with empathy as well, because Little or no empathy is a hallmark of psychopaths, and too much leads you to where we are now, where you're willing to cut off your own arm because somebody else happens to be missing a limb.
We're the same.
We're the same. There's a very interesting little thing in this article where he's talking about you were discussing Japan earlier and how they're not allowing the suicidal empathy thing seems to basically be a Western problem.
Shocker.
I know. Whereas you're, Asian and Middle Eastern countries and everything, you come into their country illegally, they cut your head off.
Yeah, somehow I don't think that China is going to welcome anybody that's just a drain on their system.
No, definitely not.
Except for influencers that they can pay to make themselves look good.
Right.
They bring those worthless people in all the time. Oh, wait, did I say worthless? I'm sorry.
I'd heard nothing. I heard it. Anyway, in that book, he makes a reference to Japan and the act of seppuku, which I assume you're both familiar with. When I was a kid, it was called harikari.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why that is, but of course, it's the act of self-disembowelment that a samurai would do for to cover up his shame.
Interjecting here, we are not fans of suicide.
Not at all.
Suicide is not the answer.
And none of us are suicidal.
For a second,
Yes.
you talked about that with the samurai doing that, whatever.
Mhm.
And so that's what that. There was a lot of those Japanese soldiers, fighters in World War II. It did that
Oh,
on the
yes.
island once they realized that the U.S. had the upper hand,
Mhm.
because it was better for them in honor to kill themselves for their country than to be taken as a prisoner.
Yeah.
One of their most famous fighting tactics was kamikazes,
Mm-hmm.
Right, 100%.
which was the
Yeah.
World War II era equivalent of
Yeah.
seppuku.
Well, I
Right,
mean,
exactly.
you look at the true history, behind with Pearl Harbor. There was kamikazes. That's where they come with that
Right.
term, where the plane's like, listen, I'm out of
Mhm.
ammo, but you know what?
Yeah,
I got a big bomb.
I'm out of ammo and I'm low on fuel because my fuel tank took a hit.
Yep.
Might as well take
just
more of
crash.
them with me.
Yeah.
Yep. But no, you're absolutely right, because they were trained and they believed it was the right way to do that. They would fight to the very last bullet, the very last bayonet charge, whatever they could do. And then if there was nothing, if they had no hope of killing anybody else, they would take care of themselves. For the sake of honor.
I'm trying to think of the movie, like it's like the reference, whatever. Thinking maybe it's called Letter from Iwo Jima. It's a war movie, but it portrays that whatever a couple of times toward the end of that movie, where they're trying to capture the Japanese, and they're just like, I ain't going with you. Like you said, it's more honor for me to kill myself
Right.
than it is.
Well, and I want to draw a quick comparison here because this is probably going to derail us a little bit, but I do
That's
want to
fine.
make a clear distinction.
Yeah.
Seppuku was a last resort. It was not what they wanted to happen.
Right. Exactly.
Suicide bombers are a completely different thing.
Mm-hmm.
They have no honor
Right.
at all.
Exactly.
They're only looking to kill as many people as they can to enslave them in the afterlife by their texts.
Right.
So I wanted to make a clear distinction there before we
Yes.
go.
No. It's very different culture and everything. And you're right. The suicide bombers basically they're promised a huge reward for doing that, and it really is more about taking out the other people. They just happen to be collateral damage, essentially.
I don't think I can live with 72 virgins. I'm just saying.
Well, a famous comedian said, "Give me 72 women who know what the hell they're doing." But
Another famous one said that it's not virgins, it's virgins. No, it's more to the fact of that it was in reference to the September 11th attack.
Yeah.
And it said, can you imagine when they get over there and they just meet a bunch of people that look like George Washington and are not very happy with them?
Yeah, that's I like it. The reason I mentioned the reference to seppuku is that he actually says in that book that he argues the West is committing civilizational seppuku via suicide by empathy.
But we're not doing it with honor.
No, we're not doing it with honor. So, and again, that was a whole other thing. Something else I found in that New York Post article, and I'll try not to read everything, but it's interesting stuff. There's a famed British historian named Arnold J. Toynbee. I should say Arnold J. Toynbee. Anyway, he has a huge 12-volume study that he did called A Study of History, and it's about the factors that cause civilizations to go extinct. And we might remember that for a future episode. Anyway, and he's talking. The summary of his whole thing is Civilizations die from suicide, not by murder. And he uses a couple of examples. He focuses on New York, surprisingly, and California, which are bastions of
How
liberal
long ago
think.
were these written?
This one I'm not sure about. I didn't make a note of the.
Because if there's 12 volumes,
But it's.
that implies that there's a long writing period.
Mm-hmm,
What does it tell you that even to that point,
mm-hmm,
those were the shining examples, and they're still the examples of what not to do?
right. Well, I can tell you that the most recent volume is pretty recent because
Okay.
he mentions some almost real time stuff here. But as far as when he started writing it, I did not make a
I just
note.
thought it was interesting that there's a long work that has the same examples. As
Yes,
what we
I
see
agree.
on
It
a
is
daily basis.
fascinating. The very first example he gave is something that Poncho mentioned in our first episode about radical Islamists flying planes into the Twin Towers in New York. And now here we are, less than 25 years later, New Yorkers elected a radical Islamist as their mayor, knowing that he would implement Islamist and socialist ideas and programs. So again, the very model of suicidal
Well,
empathy.
and there again, I can look at that same example and go, the people we talked about in the previous one, the people who are going to be most impacted by the Sharia law, the Islamic law, are the women that voted it in, thinking, "Oh, well, he'll be different. He'll be good for us."
Mhm.
No, he won't.
Right.
His law dictates that you're lesser.
Yes.
How is that better for you?
Exactly. And to that fact, there's already been, because of his policies, and he's only been in office a few months now. His policies have already flooded New York with an exponential increased number of Muslim immigrants, and hate crimes against Jews have seen a quote astounding increase. Now, are we surprised by that? No. There's a quote from his study that I wanted to read. It says, regrettably, that which we view as commendable virtues are construed as feminized weakness by other societies. And that ties in directly with something you were saying earlier. For another quick example that he uses in this study, he's talking about California's ideas about not jailing murderers, treating any theft under $950 as completely forgivable, and not expecting homeless people to seek treatment in mental health facilities or addiction centers because that would be mean-spirited. So
They got rid
instead,
of those homeless really quick though when they had China show up.
it was quite amazing. They couldn't do anything for 50 years, but they cleaned the streets of homeless people overnight. It
Yeah,
was
and then
quite
it went right back to where it was.
Yeah.
We had to make it look good for the.
Mhm. Well, one of the things. Did you have something to say?
Yeah, just
Go ahead.
before we get too far in it, and this would kind of go along the line like what we're talking about, whatever,
Mhm.
Abraham Lincoln famously once said, 1838 in a speech,
Mhm.
wherever he said that a nation who were to face destruction, it would not come from an external threat, but from an internal decay.
Mhm. Yeah.
And they going on and said that a country must live through all time or die by suicide.
Yeah. And
It
that
can
was.
tie into the same thing. You let these.
Yep. And that was over a century and a half ago.
Well, in that era, it was
Well,
just
he was,
unthinkable that the borders would be as porous as
but
Mhm.
from texts or whatever they want to tell you, with the modern school teaching of it, whatever, he was a um, talking about at that time, was basically he was referring to actually from like mobs ruling and lawlessness going on inside the country, but still it can tie into what's happening today. I mean, he's 100%
Oh, mob rule.
right.
You mean like the ones that are burning stuff in the streets and things like
I
that?
just
But it's
thought that,
all in peace because they're oppressed.
Well,
like
they're mostly
Lefty,
peaceful protests.
like Lefty famously said, I don't believe in the coincidence. However,
Right.
but it's just funny how something that long ago,
Mm-hmm.
Well,
whoever
there,
president states that, whatever, and look at it now.
Yeah.
there again, though, it's everything throughout history that ever has been written or filmed as a warning. Somebody has taken as a playbook.
Right. Exactly. That famous line about those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. People just don't. They just don't pay attention.
Well, and
to
people
that.
don't want to learn.
This is true.
And when they do learn, they learn from a biased perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And I can admit, slavery bad.
Right.
I can also say there's more slaves on Earth today than there was back then.
True fact.
But you don't hear that talked about nearly as much
No.
because then that calls the wrong group of people to account.
Exactly. They can't blame it on the modern white guy. So, getting back to my little list here, just because I know we're kind of winding this episode down. Talking about the homeless there in California, I did not know this. This is not something I had found in the news. They are building luxury high rises for the homeless to live in on the taxpayer dime, of course, in California, to the tune of more than $600,000 per unit. Over $500,000 luxury living per unit for people who don't have jobs and don't.
Okay, so hear me out here.
Mm-hmm.
These two things together may benefit the rest of the country.
Okay.
Because you're telling me that a bunch of the Muslims are going to New York.
Mm-hmm.
That's far out that way.
Right.
And you're telling me that the homeless are being pulled to the other shore.
Right.
Is this a psyop to make it where those problematic groups stay out of the heartland of the country?
Possibly. Maybe we're going to put up border walls around California.
Hey, there's
and New
a
York.
fault line out west that I've heard is susceptible to go off at any time.
Uh-huh.
And I've seen movies where New York gets taken out by Godzilla. So maybe we need to work on mecha version there.
Yeah, well, if we drop enough TNT on that fault line, who knows?
The fault line, yeah. And I've always heard that California is going to sink into the ocean. And I'm like, don't get my hopes up.
Right.
But
don't threaten me with a good time.
There's a few other states out there that I want to go with too.
When it comes to the, this, if we're going to put up a border, right, around those two states, can we at least, out in California, cut it before it gets to the north part? I would like to see the redwood forest.
Well, yeah, we can. It can zigzag because, parts of Oregon and whatever.
I think what we should do, and this is,
and
any politician listening, you're free to take this idea. We need to negotiate with Mexico, right?
Okay.
We get to build the border wall across the existing border minus California.
Sure.
It goes up through the side of California, and then where we cut off, where we want to keep the redwoods and stuff, we just give them the coastline.
Okay.
But we have to be allowed, and they have to help us fund building a wall the whole way.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can have that, and we'll push all their people back into that area.
That works for me. And haven't they been saying they wanted California back for 150 years?
There again, I understand there are great people in California. There are good parts of California. Mm-hmm. If you can, man, get out.
Yeah. Well, again, make sure you're on the right side of the wall.
But real quick, I was going to say when I thought about that, that border draw, whatever, we got to do the same thing with. We have to do the same thing with New York too. Mm-hmm. The upper part of New York is beautiful.
Yeah, upper New York State is quite nice, and there's a lot of
you can go up and around and cut
people.
Off, the major cities. Whatever,
the problem is it's breaking containment.
Yes,
like the policies of New York City, the policies of California, they're breaking containment. The people that are fleeing California because of the crap hole they turned it into
are now
still taking their policies everywhere they go because we'll try it again and it'll work over here. Well, you can't let it break containment. You have to contain bad. You have to contain the rock.
The virus must be contained.
Control everything, obviously, but that is, I will say, that is one thing that actually kind of worries me. With the people, I get why people are moving out, right?
Yeah,
but it worries me though because
they're wherewithal to realize that their policies are what caused the problems,
right?
And they don't.
Those are, but to the real ones, whatever that see that whatever want to do better. I applaud you. Come on over. That's fine.
Right.
But I don't like it that there's other ones that are exiting too. For some, hey, let's go try to get this idea over here.
Right. And see, I know that a nation divided cannot stand. Right. I understand that. We're almost to the point where our disagreements are so vast that common sense needs to be the majority of the country, and we need to cut the rest off. The U.S. needs to shrink, and we need to just put them in their own little place.
Right.
And make it where we're not helping you. You're on your own. We know the infrastructure is there to do it. It's your job to maintain it now. We'll keep the good. We'll keep anybody who wants to be in what the U.S. actually stands for.
Right.
You're in this region. If you want to be progressive and change the way things are, go over there.
Go to hell on that side of the wall. Yep.
And I know that's not a cheap thing. That's not easy to do. But right now, you have, as you mentioned earlier, sleeper cells. That's essentially what we have going across the country, but they're political sleeper cells.
Exactly.
They're going in to disrupt what the politics of an area is. Illinois would be a red state except Chicago.
Right.
But Chicago has enough people, it overrides everything else.
That's true. I
And
can
they
back
have-
that up from whenever I worked over in Illinois.
Yeah.
In a small town. I mean, beautiful small town. And it just, for me, what being there is like, this is what I envision of a small town America should be, right? And you get to talking to them, whatever they'll tell you is, well, it's not, it's not our voting that's swaying the system. And they'll tell you, Chicago. You go to Chicago and persuade them people that, hey, your politics are idiots.
Well, and then you also have the other problem of you have snakes. You have people that come in politics especially, who I'm going to run as a Republican. They ain't.
That's what scares me.
Conservative.
That's what scares me.
But they've been in power for years because nobody's ever called them to the mat. Nobody's ever questioned them because nobody else has the finances
because
to
they were
challenge.
here recently. That's what scares me, honestly. Like whenever they're saying on the news, and it made national news, Indiana just wiped house with Republican votes across the state. Right, that worries me because I'm like, where's like you said, who's the snake coming in? Doing this.
Well, but the problem is there's a reaction. There's an ebb and flow in all the states that are doing the primaries. One of the things that's been very interesting this time around is there's a lot of incumbents that have either been very, very, very challenged and still end up winning, but by a small margin, or they got ruffle stomped out of office, or their misdeeds finally came to light.
Right.
And they had to step down. There is a turning point happening. The empathy is being turned off. The majority of the U.S. citizens have had enough.
Right.
Our state of living, our comfort of life is diminishing at an alarming rate, while those that contribute nothing are being pushed above those that do contribute. And that can only go for so long before people do have that breaking point. And we've reached it.
Right.
That's why a lot of incumbents are losing their primaries nationwide, is because people have said, you had a chance and you made it worse. My empathy for you, tying it back to our subject, has run out. I will not let this kill me.
Right. No, and if it's for the right reason, that's great. What I'm saying, kind of give you a mind-blowing moment for a second, especially like I said, it made headline news when Indiana went red. Like even the national news is picking this up. And whoa, and I hope it is. Maybe all Indianans are finally waking up. Hey, you had your run, you're done.
Right.
Like I said, there's several nationwide that it's becoming. But a lot of the snakes are getting exposed.
Right. I don't want to go out rabbit trail here, but like I said, there's still more primary going on. We still have to, the Republicans, whatever to maintain, they do still have a few more hurdles that they're going to have to.
Well, and then you've got the standard elections.
Right.
And I'll be honest, there are a lot of people, there's a growing movement, it seems, of people that are they're going to essentially throw the baby out with bathwater. They're accelerationists. Theirs is not out of empathy that they feel bad. It's, we're going to put the Democrats in power so that it can all burn down faster, and then we'll rebuild from the ash.
Right.
None of us want to rebuild from the ash.
No.
I don't think people realize how bad that would actually be. Anybody who tells you, I want to just see it all burn down, that's a person to watch, because that's a sociopath.
I was going to say psychopath, but yeah, sociopath probably more accurate. But yes, that's a dangerous.
It's a dangerous, absolutely. Or even the person that jokes around all the time. Well, just let it burn.
Yeah. Well, see, there's a difference between somebody who's like, you know what, I'm just going to sit back and watch it burn because I don't feel like my part has any piece in this. I'm not my.
That's
my vote
still dangerous thinking.
It's dangerous for the overall, but I don't think that person is actually going to go out and.
They're not
right.
going to act.
I understand that, but
these other people are actively trying to harm.
Right, but
Right.
I guess what it's saying is that person that is saying, I'm going to sit back and watch it burn, eventually whatever is going to get, in my opinion, person's going to just going to disengage and everything and be like, yo,
Well, I think a
Now,
lot of
you know-
us, and I'll be honest, myself included, we're at that point. We're on the brink of that being the mindset. And that, like this, I'll be honest, this podcast is one of those last ditch efforts
Right.
of you got to get off the couch and do something. You got to try something.
Right.
And I live in an area where you can't talk to people in public about this because there's every chance that somebody's going to come up and just start berating you because you disagree on something minor. Well, these are major topics that we discuss.
Or to your point, because I know where you live, it's almost as likely that a person who does not believe in gun control will whip out, a person who believes in gun control and does not believe you have the right to own a gun will pull out a gun and shoot.
Mhm.
I apologize for stumbling over.
Well, and then they'll
you get what I'm
turn
saying.
around and claim that, oh, they were being aggressive, they were being loud.
Mm-hmm.
All I said was I disagree.
Mm-hmm. And I unfortunately I do agree with you. So I had just two more quick things before we round this out. Not to jump around too much, but there's from that study that I was talking about, there was this kind of funny quote I wanted to share. In the 2025 Los Angeles fires that destroyed so much acreage, ruined so many lives, made people homeless, all this stuff.
Still ruined.
Still ruined. Yeah, still not recovering. Christine Larson, the LA deputy fire chief, was quick to explain the importance of diversity, inclusion, and equity when hiring firefighters. Quote, you want to see somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you. It gives that person a little more ease knowing that somebody might understand the situation better. So, end quote. So what she's saying is, if you are an overweight queer woman with a prosthetic leg about to be consumed by a raging fire, it is best that your firefighter be a double amputee obese queer woman rather than an athletic, able-bodied heterosexual man.
You know what? I want to be completely honest. I don't care if it's a well-trained gorilla in a red hat that pulls me out of the fire. As long as they get me out of the fire, that's all I care about.
Right. But apparently, that's wrong. You're
Well, but
supposed to only want to see somebody that's just like you.
There's also another quote from that same category of fire department out there
Right.
where they ask one of these people, what if my husband needs carried out of a fire? Can you carry them out? And their response was, well, he shouldn't have got himself in that situation.
Exactly.
If you can't carry somebody out of a fire, you shouldn't be a fireman.
Mhm.
I hate to tell you, it comes with the job
It's,
description.
yeah, that's simple physics, right? I mean,
There's nothing simple in the world anymore.
well, no, that's true.
Again, I think that well-trained gorilla may actually be smarter than some of the people that are in power.
Amen.
And I do mean an actual gorilla here, people, like Harambe.
Yes.
Just
Oh, don't even get me started on Harambe. That's a podcast all in itself. I'm not going to go in. I had a whole other section of things I wanted to talk, and I'm going to choose not to do that, but I want to make this one statement, and then I'll give my final thought. There's something, when researching suicidal empathy, there are far too many comparisons to the great replacement theory, which was first espoused by the French author Renaud Camus, who, by the way, is no relation, I want to stress that, to the great philosopher Albert Camus. They just happen to have the same last name, but they are not related, because I don't want to, not that Camus is the greatest philosopher, but I don't want to sully his name. But anyway, it's categorized as a far-right, pro-white, racist program.
there have been streamers that have quoted and shown Keir Starmer saying things about this in British Parliament, and the streamer got called a white supremacist and a conspiracy theorist for quoting a government official. But the government official is okay. Keir Starmer's always been, oh, he's fine, he's on the... But they said the exact same thing. Sorry, I went off on a tangent there.
No, you're fine. But yeah, it is officially listed as a debunked white nationalist far-right conspiracy theory. Now, again, I have all kinds of stuff I was going to say about this. I'm not going to. But this Camus guy, and he was born in like the 40s. He's an older gentleman. He's gay. He's a socialist. He hung out with Andy Warhol back in the 60s. He marched for gay rights in the 60s when nobody was allowed to be gay. He was a member of the Souverainist Party of France. You cannot get more left wing than this guy. It is not possible. So to classify his great replacement theory as right wing is absolutely asinine. I can't understand how people put it in that category because this guy is so, well, maybe because he's so far left, he circled all the way around and now he's on the right. I don't know.
It goes back to if
Far enough left, you'll
if
come
you
back.
point it out,
Uh-huh.
you call their hypocrisy. They can't use your empathy against you.
There you go.
If you point it out and draw attention to it, that takes an arrow out of their quiver.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem.
I don't know how we got to this point. And I know we've gone over our time and I need to shut the hell up.
No,
That's that's an overriding theme in my life. Shut the hell up. But I could talk for another half hour about the great replacement theory. I had a few more quotes.
That is going to be its own discussion.
Okay. Well,
I
we'll add
fully
that to the
believe
list.
that'll be its own discussion because
Okay.
there's a lot of elements of that.
Well, I'll keep my notes about that. And I had a few other quotes I was going to throw out. I'll save those for another time. One of them had to do with something you mentioned in our first broadcast about the nail bomb at the in New York.
The
That
man who
was,
yelled Allahu Akbar through it, and then it was a white guy's fault.
yeah, the
Yeah,
white
that
guy's fault. That was mentioned in that 12-volume study that I was telling you about.
But yeah,
anyway,
it is very modern. So
But anyway, my final thought for the academics among us is something that popped into my head when I was researching this and over while we've been talking about it. And it's funny because you mentioned snakes. So about 3 years ago, I went into the barn and there was this really good sized rat snake, a black rat snake, that had tried to slither through a piece of broken fish net. Now, as I'm sure you both are familiar with snakes enough, his head and the first 3 inches or so of his body fit just fine, and then his body doubles in size. But yet he kept trying to force himself, herself, themselves, whatever the hell. It's a snake. I don't freaking know.
It's a snake. I'm not about to try and figure that out because
Right.
I don't want to get bit no matter what kind it is.
Exactly. It kept trying to push its way through the net. And when I found it, it had probably been there for a couple of days, trying to force itself through this net. So it is peeling the skin and the muscle off its body, trying to force itself because it only knows one way to go. It can only go forward. Now, I just keep thinking about this on this topic because snakes have a certain level of intelligence. They're nothing compared to a dog or a horse or a dolphin or Harambe that you brought him up. But they have a certain level of instinctual intelligence, but they don't have any reasoning. They don't have any logic. If this snake had been intelligent enough when it got stuck to just back up and go another way, it would have been fine. But all it knows is to keep pushing, and it understands that it's in pain. It's understanding, it has the knowledge to know that going forward hurts, but yet it's still literally killing itself to try and reach its goal of wherever the hell it was after going, what have you. And to me, that's just kind of like an illustration of what we've been talking about. And maybe I'm stupid or crazy, but because again, the people who are indulging in this suicidal empathy, their goal is so important. Even if it's to their own demise, they're still pushing forward no matter what.
Absolutely.
And that is just so sad to me. So,
well, folks, thank you for being here for another discussion. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And we're going to go look for these scholars that Lefty mentioned because I don't know who he's talking about. There's spies among us. Have a good one, folks.
bye. Gather Around the Wood Stove is an independent podcast, meaning that the three of us do everything. If you would like to help us grow, please follow, rate, like, subscribe, and share us with a friend. If you have a topic that you'd like us to discuss, leave a comment on our social media, drop us a DM, or email us at gatheraroundthewoodstove@gmail.com. That's gather, ROUND, the woodstove at gmail.com.